Good afternoon or late evening or whenever you decide to watch this video. Today we will be reviewing the movie The Princess Bride, a movie that was made in 1987, directed by Mr. Meathead himself from All in the Family, Rob Lowe, not Rob Lowe, Rob
Reiner. Rob Reiner.
So, as we're waiting for Jack to sit down, if he's not about ready to sit down, I want to talk a little bit about last night's show with, there's Jack. He's early for Jack. And he's done his homework, I've been told.
Do what he said he did.
What was that?
I was expecting him to actually do what he said he was going to do.
Which was?
Well, that's just inconceivable. You'll be hearing that a lot today. So, since Jack is here, I guess there's no reason for us to,
That's more realistic. I don't want it.
Sorry, that was Max.
Max is having a fun show. I was on it. I commented on that earlier. So, what did you guys? I know last night was your guys' chat, but what did you guys think of it? Did you guys have fun doing it?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, it was probably the best one yet. Had a lot of traffic, a lot of people stopping in, a lot of great conversation. If you guys haven't seen it, it's our UFOs, aliens, and shadow people shadow chat last night. Definitely recommend you give it a look. See, let us know what you think. We'll be doing more of that with all of our good friends out there in TV land, and hopefully you'll get a chance to interview Nathan. He's a great guy. He was incredibly popular last night, and he is just chock full of great stories and great advice, and he's just an all-around great guy. We ended up chatting for a little bit after the show, and I look forward to having him on the show more often. We're gonna have a show together, just him and I, sometime in the near future. He makes some great, I don't know if you saw his robots or if that was later.
That was later.
Yeah, he showed off some of his creations. He does a lot of 3D printing and kit bashing and just making robots and things for sci-fi costumes and cosplay things, I guess you'd say, and the convention scene, and he's helped people all over the world come up with parts and pieces for their droids and their costumes and what have you, and he's just he's a great guy. Hopefully he'll make it big doing what he does.
Hey,
it was nice having Baron and Rick there too as well. I was hoping that Bruce would have showed up and Shauner. I even tried to make it early so Shauner could show up, but I guess Saturday night's a work night for him, or he's got to get up early in the morning, so he missed out.
It happens that way.
Hey Sean, how you doing? Multi-Gun, good to see you in the chat. I hope you guys enjoyed the show last night. I'm kind of surprised Sean didn't jump in, but maybe next time, you're always welcome to hang out,
Right.
live with us.
Like you said, it was good to have those people that you had in his chat, meeting Nathan, Baron, Rick. Man, I'm jealous of those guitars he's got behind him. Those were pretty. And Rick, they are absolutely gorgeous. I wish I played, but they're still pretty. I can still appreciate beautiful things, right?
And it's never too late to pick up a guitar and try to learn.
Right. So let's get into this, because I have a feeling this is going to be one of those chats. It's going to be fun as hell, and we're going to be laughing most of it.
It was good to watch the movie again. I hadn't seen it since I saw with him years and years ago, and there's always scenes that just get me right here.
Now, I personally, after watching it again this morning, I watched it this morning myself, so I can stay. I thought it aged well. I mean, this movie was made in 1987. There's a lot of movies that were made in the 80s that did not age at all well.
Oh, and no, I mean, the only thing that's dated is the video game at the beginning, the baseball game that Fred Savage is playing. Other than that, everything could have been filmed yesterday.
Oh yeah. Jesus. Fred Savage, Wonder Years. Wow, I remember watching that show as a kid. The Mr. Columbo himself as a grandfather.
Peter Falk, that was one of the, my favorite scene is always going to be the sword fight. That's my favorite part of the movie. But second will always be the grandfather and son scenes.
Oh, yeah. No, I completely agree with that one. Now, I don't know how close. I know you said in the past, Shadow, when it comes to your family, it's basically just you.
Yeah.
Now, when Jack has been sick, has his grandparents came over to see if he's okay, or is this thing?
My grandmother lives at our house. Well, not right now because she's in Mexico, but my grandmother lives with us.
So she would be here, but her ability to read and write is probably not very good.
Well, I'm sure
most of my family had to spend most of the time working at the farm instead of.
I completely understand that. I really do. I was raised for the first half of my life. I was raised by my grandparents. I've said this a few times. So when I got sick, I got this glass of something. I've never quite figured out what the hell it was, but I swear to God, smoke was coming off the top of it like some mad scientist lab experiment. And my grandma, in her very thick Romanian voice, drink, it'll make you feel better. Drink. And my grandpa would be like, leave the boy alone. He's sick enough, woman. Leave him alone. So that's what my childhood was like when I was sick. Which I do miss those days. I miss them more and more all the time. So, yeah, the only thing dated in the very beginning was a video game. Which, with today's technology, correct me if I'm wrong, Jack, they could have easily just computer-graphed a Xbox or a PlayStation console on it and just replace those two things with an update thing. I mean, I know you could Photoshop the shit. I just don't know if you could.
Yeah, they could easily put a different game on. Yeah, but there's really no point. Some kids are still playing NES. Out there are kids, who are playing hand-me-down systems.
Yeah.
So, we still play. He was playing a PlayStation 2 game.
Yes.
Before he came up, he was playing Star Wars Battlefront. That's a 20-year-old game.
PlayStation 2, I had a handful of games, and that was not one of them. I had all the Dragon Ball Z games, though. If you know what those are, and
we've actually got we've got 3 PlayStation 2s for some reason, and they all work.
Lucky bastard.
Yeah.
But I trade them for a good old fashioned original Xbox, so I can play Star Wars, not Battlefront, Knights of the Old Republic. But one of these days I'll get there.
I'll have to look around for you. I want to talk about the cast because they had such an amazing cast. I don't think you can really talk about Princess Bride the movie without talking about the cast because it's a great story by itself. But if it wasn't for Andre the Giant, Mandy, was it Mandy Patinkin? I can't pronounce it.
Mandy Patinkin.
Yeah.
He's been in a lot of stuff. He's a bit of a hard egg to work with. I know that to be a fact. He's walked off many a show, never to come back just because of his personal issues, I guess you'd say. I can't think of anything I've seen him in that I didn't like. I didn't watch, I think it was Chicago Hope, but I watched him in Criminal Minds, and him leaving after 2 years was really irritating because he was the best part of the show. And the show still went on for a couple years afterwards. I want to say almost 10 years afterwards. And I watched it as far as I could on Netflix, and enjoyed it even without him. And then when they killed his character off, that was kind of a sad moment as well. But he was in the movie Alien Nation. He played George San Francisco, the alien. With James Caan. That was him. Yes.
Holy crap! I need to.
Yeah, I know. I know. If you go back and look, even at just a little bit of it, you'll be amazed. But that was him in the movie, not the TV show.
No, I know the TV show was somebody else, but wow, still.
Right, and James Caan,
Yeah, it's been forever since I've seen that movie. Maybe we need to do a review of that movie sometime down the road.
Yeah, I've only seen it once, and I did watch the TV show because I liked the movie so much. But it's been forever.
Yeah, if they would make
Carrie Ells, that made his career.
Right.
If he literally never made anything but that, he'd still be rolling in the dough. And he's been very picky on the roles that he's taken after that, which, is usually been kind of a bad guy after that, if you notice. From the movie Saw and even Stranger Things. He was the mayor of Stranger Things.
Oh, yeah, Carrie Elves, yeah. Man, he did some dumb movies, though, too. What was that? Robin Hood in Tights.
Yeah, that really didn't surprise me. And, he was perfect for it. He really was, even though it was a really kind of a more slapstick comedy than
The
Princess Bride. Right.
It was, although there was a line in it from him where he's like, unlike other Robin Hoods, I'm actually British. And I'm like, wow, what a dick.
He probably didn't write the line, although.
No, I mean, Carrie Evans, what was the movie? Kiss the Girl with Morgan Freeman, which was a James.
I never actually saw that one.
I think it's only. I was a big Alex Cross, and still I'm a big Alex Cross fan novel, and so and it's Morgan Freeman. I mean, Morgan Freeman normally does not make bad movies, in my opinion. But yeah, he's been in a lot of stuff. Yeah, he's been a bad guy. Yeah, a few of them. Then you have, who's this? Andre the Giant. Let's go with Andre the Giant, man. The phenomenal.
Yeah, it was probably his greatest moment on screen. He was just so lovable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard he was fading out. I mean, when that movie was being made, he was, unfortunately, health was starting to fail him. Where there's a story I heard that they had to lower Princess Buttercup, Robin Wright, into his arms because he did not have the strength to pick her up.
I can't even imagine that.
Yeah, so it was amazing what he did in that movie, and you think somebody like him would not have had such a comedic role.
He was perfect. His voice, his demeanor, the little simple looks, and he was. It wouldn't have been the same without him. Nobody else could have played that part like he did.
William Wallace Shane, that Mrs. Shaw.
Yeah, Walt Shaw. Yeah, I don't remember his first name. The Vicini.
Yeah, he has got to be the most quoted person in the entire movie, other than Carrie. With
Absolutely,
Carrie, that was "As You Wish," and his is inconceivable. And
he was also, I saw him once in I think it was Married with Children, and he's done a lot of little things here and there, which he's just one of those characters that was just perfect for the movie, and he did a great job. He was a nasty little
Sicilian.
I wasn't going to say that. Just a nasty little man who was perfect for the role, and again, it's a classic in every sense of the word.
I've been bouncing around Fred Savage, and I might with a few more people because at that time, like I said, I'm going to bounce around him for a second. They had
Mark. It's probably our fan. We have a 2,000-degree studio right now, and it's the only thing keeping us from literally bursting into fire. So please bear with the noise in the background if that's what you're hearing. Again, howdy everybody, Multi-Gun, Sean, Mark. We're getting ready to start listening to the next Dresden novel, but I needed a bit of a break.
I'm surprised you're still willing to listen to him. Anyways. Then you had, God, I can't think of his name, Billy Crystal.
Billy Crystal, the one and only.
Man.
Again, one of his greatest cameo appearances. He was absolutely hysterical as Miracle Max. The little bit of modern humor that was in that scene was acceptable because of his quirkiness. And gosh, I can't remember her name.
Yeah, his wife. She was big in the 80s. She played as in Scrooge with not Scrooge.
Oh, she was so adorable in that movie, and I think she used to date Andy Kaufman. She was at least very close to him back in the day. I just can't remember her name. I wanted to make sure I didn't forget her name because she was just classic. Tinier part of Billy Crystal. Carol Kane, that's right. She was absolutely. I'm pretty sure I saw her. I was actually on an episode of Fridays, not on the show, but I was in the studio audience. My friend got tickets for that show, and if you ever saw the movie Man in the Moon, it was about Andy Kaufman's life.
Yeah.
There was an episode of Fridays that he was on, and I was in the audience when he just went ballistic on stage because they were talking about drugs, and he absolutely, told them no drugs while I'm on the show, and he just went nuts. Yeah, Lotka's wife. That's right. She played Lotka's wife in Taxi, which was Andy Kaufman's big role in TV Land.
He was odd duck, man. His entire career, he played odd well. I'm not saying he's a bad actor. I'm just saying he played odd well.
Andy Kaufman?
Yeah.
Yeah, his career was incredibly short. I remember watching him on Saturday Night Live, and when he would come out and just put that little tiny record player and lip sync the theme to Mighty Mouse, and people just loved it. It was hysterical. And some of the other things, but this isn't about Andy. Maybe one of these days we'll go into it. But
he's got a history all to himself.
Not very long history though.
Yeah,
his life was tragically cut short.
Christopher Guest, the Count
Rugen.
Count Rugen, yeah.
Another Saturday Night Live. I believe he was a Saturday Night Live alumni guy, and he was also in Spinal Tap, which is pretty funny when you think about it. I think he played. Did he play Nigel Tufnell or the other character? I think he played the guitar, the brown-haired guitarist from Spinal Tap.
Oh, I believe you. I've
not
never
the
seen
singer, but just the guitarist. And he was, but this one goes to 11. That's him. Oh no, really? Did you read the last chat?
Yeah, I'm trying. I don't remember that character.
Uhura from Star Trek.
Okay, Uhura. There, man. I'm still not quite away from this nonsense. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. That's sad, but she was up there in years.
Right, but she was, she was a huge part of sci-fi history.
Oh yeah, she's a pioneer. She is a pioneer for sci-fi television. I'll definitely say that. She's the reason why we got Whoopi Goldberg in Next Generation, for better or worse.
Yeah, Mark, he was a genius.
Trying to think of anybody.
Chris Sarandon. He was also in Fright Night as the vampire. You guys remember that movie?
Yeah, Fright Night. Yeah, actually, I saw the remake of Fright Night. Then I'm like, this sucks. I wonder if the original is any better. And
yeah, it was okay. He really didn't get a lot of work, and he always kind of played kind of a sleazy, greasy sort of, untrustworthy sort. But he knew the role that he was taking with this movie. He was playing a scumbag, and he did it perfectly.
Yeah, he did. I want to talk about Robin Wright really quick. I've never seen a film of hers I've not liked.
Really, this is the only one of hers that I liked. And I even watched most of House of Cards before I knew things about Kevin Spacey, and then I couldn't watch it anymore. She was
Kevin Spacey ruined that show.
What?
Kevin Spacey ruined that show. His actions.
He ruined the planet by existing. I'm just going to leave that.
Yeah, that show politically was awesome. I enjoyed Frank Underwood. I just wish it was played by a different actor.
Well, there's the British version.
Yeah, that one's completely different.
I'm not going to say he wasn't talented, but because he was just absolutely creepy as hell in Seven, and even in House of Cards, he was.
Seven, man, that was a movie I forgot about.
I was going to say that.
Seven gives a whole new meaning to opening box reviews. That
boxing. Yeah.
Boxing reviews. Ugh.
Yeah.
Once again, another Morgan Freeman movie. So Morgan Freeman normally does not make bad movies. Rob, I liked her in House of Cards. I liked her in this one. Hold on, I gotta make sure.
Again, this movie put her on the map. She was back then absolutely stunningly beautiful, and she turned into a rather bitter, cold, heartless seeming individual. I don't know what she's like in real life. I know very little about her. I know she married what's his name?
Dane Witherspoon until 1988, Sean Penn to 2010, and Clement something is been married since 2018. So
I didn't know about her third husband, but I knew she was married to Sean Penn, and that right there sends up a whole lot of red flags for me. I don't know about you.
Weirdo. He's a weirdo. Some of their movies that she was in Forrest Gump with Tom Hanks. Good movie for what it was.
Did she play Jenny?
Yeah, she was Jenny.
Wow, I didn't know that.
She was in the superhero
movie.
I don't know, but I know I've seen some of it.
Oh, okay.
She was in Unbreakable with Bruce Willis.
Really? I don't remember her being in that movie either.
Moneyball with Brad Pitt. That's the baseball movie. That's our hit. That's always a hit or miss with most people. Blade Runner 2049.
Didn't see it.
She was the captain, or she was something. She was in a leadership role, and she was in the first Wonder Woman movie, which was actually, in my opinion, was a really good movie for what it was.
I did not see that.
Is it? Well, you said the original. When did this one come out?
Wonder Woman came out in 2000. Well, I should say original. But it is the very first Wonder Woman movie that's ever been in a theater. I should say that it was filmed. Came out in 2017. It had her. What?
The one with Gal Gadot?
Yes, which I'd watch anything that she's in because she's just freaking hot. But I'm an idiot. But yeah, what?
A dirty old man.
Yes. Which, to be honest, I think that lady is about my age as well, so I don't feel too bad.
Oh no, I didn't mean it that way.
Oh, she's 37, so yeah, I really don't feel that bad about being a dirty old man.
I didn't mean it like that. I definitely didn't mean it like that. I just I just didn't want to see it for some reason.
Which one?
It's fine. Wonder Woman was a good movie. Yeah, she is. I'm not saying that she isn't, but it was everything you want in a Wonder Woman movie.
That's probably why I didn't want to see it, Sean.
But let's get to the movie. So
yeah, let's talk about the movie that is in the title.
Yeah, let's talk about the movie that we're talking. Yeah, all right. So Ben Savage was popular in the Wonder Years, and I think this was his first movie.
Could be. I honestly don't remember. I want to say that he's been in other things before that or after that.
The Boy Who Could Fly, and some other weird movie called Dinosaurs: A Fun Field Trip Back in Time. Okay. Whatever. So The Boy That Could Fly and Princess Bride was probably his first two serious movies. And I think he did it. Is it just me, or does he look like he could be related to Mandy? However you say his damn last
Mandy
name.
Patinkin? No, not at all.
I don't know.
I mean, if he is, that would be complete shock and surprise.
Something in their face. I don't know. Maybe I hate to say it's because they're both of the same belief structure, but there's something about them just reminds me of each other.
The parts with Peter Falk and Fred Savage are, for a lot of people, they're almost really what the movie is all about. If you look at it from a certain point of view, it's the real story, kind of hidden in plain sight, as it were. Everybody remembers all the sword fighting and the chases and the escapes and the revenge and all that that Peter Falk bills the book as. But to me, and I don't remember if that was actually in the book. I almost want to say it wasn't in the book, and it's one of those things that to me just really hits home what the story is really about. Yeah, you can look at it as the fairy tale story of love, but the other kind of love, the paternal love for one's child or grandchild in that respect. Because I don't know if you noticed, but the father was not there.
Yeah,
mom, Fred Savage's mom was there, but Dad not so much. Maybe he was there in the house, but it just wasn't important to the story. Or maybe something bad happened to him. Maybe he passed away, or because it didn't look like they were divorced or anything.
This was an 80s movie. During the 80s, the father was always at work.
Right.
And
him not being on screen doesn't really say much.
Right. These days, it would say something completely different.
Yeah, I think the guy was just at work. I mean,
to have. I mean, it'd be weird to put any other characters in those scenes. That you really only needed those three.
Yeah, and you didn't even really need the mom.
The mom
for that brief moment to introduce the grandfather, and
somebody needed to be there to introduce him and to introduce that whole.
And Peter Falk was just he wasn't even acting. He was literally playing himself as a grandfather. I'm certain. That's exactly how he would talk to his smart alecky grandson. You're very smart. Shut up.
Yeah, I can see that.
He really didn't have to act that part but yet it was, for me, it's very poignant. Without that whole part, the movie would not have been the same. It just absolutely would not have been. It would not have been the same movie. And yes, this is a very good introduction to a Dungeons and Dragons style story. It's got the giant rats. It's got the fighting and the character classes. The different kinds of fighters.
In theory, you could run this as a D&D campaign.
Definitely. Like we've talked about before, it has 3 different kinds of fighters, 3 completely different types of fighters, and they're just fighters. They're just 3 ways of playing a stereotypical fighter, as it were, and each one of them has their part to play. Each one has their moment in the sun. Maybe less with Andre, but he does say without him they would not have won the day. Without Indigo, they would not have won the day.
I figured he was like an old school barbarian without the rage.
I thought he was more just a fighter who just used hand to hand.
It's really up to the chat and whoever decides to play that or watch it, determine on their, my opinion, your opinion will vary. But either way, I thought, the story gets started off with telling the love story between Wesley and Buttercup. And I think, as a kid, you don't want to hear that romantic crap. Ew, Dad.
But at the same time, even the little kid realized at the end that's what that story was about.
Right. How do you feel about these movies, Jack, Shadow, Art, myself? Look at these movies through those rose-tinted regarding important factor. I personally love movies like this. I love a well-rounded movie, and that's what this movie was. It had everything you wanted. It had a little bit of horror with the rats of a larger size.
Rodents of unusual size.
Yeah.
As Depp just mentioned.
Yep. The character, being shipped away, coming back as somebody else, almost dying because of that necromancy machine that scientist was working on.
I actually, for some reason, I had the memory of whenever I was thinking about this, for some reason, I always thought that the Man in Black being Wesley was like a reveal at the end. For some reason, and that's the memory that I had, because I have seen the movie before. It was a long time ago, and of course I remembered most of it, or at least most of the important parts. But at least I thought I did.
Yeah, I had a little bit of trouble suspending my disbelief that she didn't recognize him as Wesley with that tiny little mask, etc. The voice, everything. It just, it took a little, suspension of my disbelief to buy into the fact that she didn't recognize him. And then as soon as he said, "As you wish," it all just hit her in the head. Oh my God, that was him the whole time. I'll throw myself off this cliff and roll down the hill and catch him, and hopefully I won't break anything.
Right.
I thought that scene, I absolutely love that rolling down the hill scene. For whatever reason, it was just so cute. I wonder if, I'm certain they had stunt people do it because they couldn't risk their stars, but I would love to find out that they actually just did it. Said, screw it, we'll just roll down this giant hill.
I think I saw they had an interview, like a 30-year anniversary of it, and I think they said they did, because it was just a straight downhill.
Yeah, it would be hard. I mean, if you did it wrong, you could hurt yourself.
Right.
But you know, how many of us as kids did the same damn thing?
Yeah.
You know, I know I did. I can show you the places where I've done it. But I've also fallen from rappelling, 60 feet. You know, I didn't fall the entire part. I rolled half of it, but I got pretty messed up. So, you know, it's one of those things, you know, you could get lucky or you could not. I'm guessing the grass had the disguise was this whole Superman trope. Our perceptions of how we view people impede the possibilities of what they could potentially be. Yeah, I could see her not, being able to see through the mask, but at the same time, you know,
It's I was
you know,
actually I was thinking the Superman quote, and Mark beat me to at least saying it out, saying it out loud. There's
yeah, I
a
don't know if you guys remember this thing from the Tick
yeah.
comic book, where the character of Superman loses his glasses, so he does this, and everybody goes, "Oh, Clark!" It was just funny.
People see what they want to see, and that was the thing. I don't remember if it was a cartoon or if it was a movie or if it was a book where Superman was talking to Lois, and Lois was, I'm a world famous journalist. I go find the truth, and how could I have been mistaken? Been blind all these years. And he puts on the glasses, and he says, "People see what they want to see. If you want to see me as a bumbling reporter, that's what you'll see. If you want to see me as Superman, that's what you see." And that's almost truth to life. The way that we look at things in real life, we see what we want to see. We don't necessarily always see the bad thing in a horrible person because we like said person. Or we don't see the good in said person because we don't like that person. We see what we want to see. And I think the mask, him wearing the mask, falls underneath the same concept. She didn't want to see Wesley. So I don't know. I mean, that's my point. That's my thought processing on it. I do love his story about how he became the Dread Pirate Roberts.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts of the story. The whole they just summed up 5 years in a minute and a half of dialogue, and it just, you could picture all everything. It was so well written that you could just picture all of his adventures in 5 years to make him this incredible character. Suddenly he's the greatest swordsman on the planet and the most feared pirate and probably wealthy beyond words. And the only thing that's weird about it is that he's a good guy, but he's been a pirate.
Well, not all. Just because you're a bad guy does not mean you're a bad guy. For all those Wreck-It Ralph fans, Johnny Depp's pirate, Jack Sparrow was a pirate. He wasn't a bad guy.
I don't know. I only saw the first one, and
I'm going by the first one.
I'm
not going by any of the other series. I'm just talking about the first one. He wasn't a bad guy. He was.
It was a cute movie, but I just didn't enjoy it the way a lot of other people did.
Yeah, I only seen the first one until recently, and my mom watched every single movie that Johnny Depp had ever been in.
There's been some good ones. Don't say it like that. There's been some good ones.
Oh no, there absolutely have.
I like Benny and June, but that's not the point. So he goes away. He becomes, he's captured. He is trained to be a pirate. Princess Buttercup is left back on the farm. The prince jackass decides to marry a commoner. Hubbarding.
Only to murder her to make some sort of war with their sworn enemies and blame it on them.
Yeah.
Typical false flag kind of thing. I just, that part always confused me. I just didn't. You must be really kind of twisted to go that route for whatever reason. Usually, a guy in that position would be like, hey, you know what? This girl's pretty smoking hot. She could give me, a lot of happy memories, heirs to my throne, etc. And instead, he goes for the most douchebaggy thing possible. I almost for a second there got a little bit of a weird vibe between Humperdinck and Count Rugen. Did you get that?
Yeah, I didn't get that.
I love to watch you work. That's that old speech.
Yeah.
It was like, what's going on? Are they trying to say something? I realize it's the 80s.
I really doubt it.
I didn't get that as a kid, but as I was rewatching this morning with my, I'm like,
there could be something going on between the two of them, Maybe that's why he wasn't,
Jack doesn't want to hear this. Jack's like, nope, this is not the way this story went. Nope, I don't want to hear it.
This is not how it's supposed to go.
If I found out that it was true, it wouldn't change anything. It would just reaffirm, my slight suspicion for a moment there. And I actually thought that many times before, just the way they talk like they were so close, with watching each other, torture people for a hobby, as it were. And it just seemed weird. But maybe that's just the depth of their evil.
You don't see Skeletor saying, "Hey, Beast Man, watch me torture some poor bastard." So I'm just saying, Yeah, I'm right there with you, Shadow. I mean, no, if it comes out later on in the, when I reread the book or whatever.
No, it didn't really go into that in the book, but the fact you mentioned the book, it's actually pretty different, and I really don't recommend reading the book, even though it's great. It doesn't end the same. There's a sentence or two at the very end that remind you that it's not necessarily as cheery as you think. There's potential. Indigo's got a gut wound. The man in black has lost over 50 years of his life. So how much time does he have left? Humperdinck is right on their tails, only a few minutes behind them, etc. And I don't recommend reading the book unless you're one of those purists that has to, have every angle, because it did, kind of spoil it for me. I would rather not remember all that.
I remember reading a book when I was a teenager. I might have just forced myself to forget that part.
Yeah, it really isn't. It's like Robin Hood. If you've ever read Robin Hood, the real stories of Robin Hood, they always end the same way. And there comes a point in the book where it literally tells you, don't read anymore. I'm warning you, don't read anymore. You don't want to know how Robin Hood dies. You don't want to know. Just.
It's not of old age, I can tell you that much.
No, it's one of the most horrific and cowardly ways to make someone die I've ever read or heard of in my life. It was just heartbreaking. So don't read it. Just don't read it. Same with Princess Bride. Don't read it. Just watch it, enjoy it, and love it for the classic that it is. Because sometimes people, open their mouth one too many times and ruin what could have been something fantastic.
I agree.
Like this guy.
I agree immensely. So he comes back. Okay. She gets involved with the guy. She gets kidnapped by
The trio.
The trio.
Fezzik, Indigo, and Bassini.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And the whole interaction between the three is just hilarious. I mean, You have the smallest person being the biggest hard ass on out of the three of them.
Typical Napoleon complex.
Yeah, then you get Indigo. Is like, I wouldn't mind fighting him. I'd like to count his fingers, and I explain why here in a little bit. Then you get Fez, plop, and nothing. Just being funny, and Indigo.
Sweet, really. He was really just a big sweetheart, even the fact that his career was fighting off gangs and what have you for local charities, which that whole phrase was just, just completely out of place in the exact wording. It was a modern thing, like he was working for Jerry's kids, or something.
Yeah.
But he was just a big sweetheart, who probably wouldn't hurt a fly unless he had to.
Then you get Indigo and Fez about ready to taking off on the ship, and Fez is like, "You see anything?" The whole rhyme was it? You see anything rocks? Then rocks ahead will all be dead. The guy says, Fez says, "No more rhyming now. I mean it. Anybody want a peanut?" Just the whole interaction right there makes.
I wanted to mention, I really, really liked that little boat. I really liked it. It was tiny, but at the same time, it was kind of a neat little boat. It's actually very close to what one of the forums they voted folding from the original AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide could create. It's not very big, but it's big enough to hold a few people for a trip across the lake. I wouldn't want to go in the ocean with it, but it was a really neat little boat. I would love to be able to have a little boat like that somewhere on a lake and just have a little old-fashioned little miniature galleon with it was just a really neat little boat.
Then, as they're going on, as the story, they find out that they're being chased or somebody's behind. No, she jumps out of the boat before they realize they're being followed.
Yeah. Well, kind of they realize they're being followed, and then she uses that as the distraction to jump overboard.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. Then you have, just the monsters or the animals that they have in this film are D&D fantasy theme,
But almost not. They could have gone a little over the top. The shrieking eels, that was just kind of weird. The rodents of unusual size. They could have been something else, not really rats. Maybe in real life there might have been something like that once upon a time, but probably not. We were talking about it. Do you think they were people in costume, little guys in costumes, or were they like animatronic puppet type things?
I think they were puppets. Just because of the movement. Because they walked on all four, and there wasn't a huge hump in the middle. Or I don't know. The way that they moved made me think they were puppets.
Really, because there was one scene where I could have, if someone told me there were children or little people or something, whatever you call them these days, in there, that wouldn't have surprised me. But for the most part, I'm guessing they were probably puppets. I suppose I could look at the credits or the
certainly, but the thing is that when a human crawls, their joints are. It's very easy to tell because of the way that the joints of the human body function. It's the arms move this way, the legs move the opposite.
Yeah.
For most quadrupedal animals, the arms move the way that our legs do, and the legs go with the arms.
So what do you think they were? Do you think they were people, or do you think they're robots?
Well, certainly they were puppets.
Puppets, I mean. Well, this is still 87. This was still during a lot of the practical magic of Jim Henson era.
Right.
Yeah.
It'd probably be easier to make puppets. It's really hard to say. for me.
I mean, the Jim Henson Factory
I'm
is
probably
still around.
60-40 puppet people.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was about to say Jim Henson Company is still around. They still make puppets that are for TV shows and movies that people don't think of, and they're still as amazing as they now as they were then. And so I mean, for those who grew up watching the Ninja Turtle movies, that was Jim Henson. The suits are all Jim Henson.
The sword fight.
Yeah,
we're not there yet.
Not there yet.
All that's left is to climb up the rocks.
Climb up, yeah. Then he follows them up the rock, Andre the Giant carrying 3 other people plus himself, climbing up a rope. That is. I know it's a movie. I know it's a fantasy. The amount of strength that he would have actually had to have to pull that off. We're not talking about an extra 40 pounds of weight hanging off your side. We're talking one grown man, one grown woman, and a heavy short guy plus his own weight climbing up a fucking mountain.
You're looking at about 500 pounds.
That is unrealistic. That is so unrealistic. Then yes, now we're to the sword fight. We are to the one of the most recognized, well talked about fencing matches, not sword fights. This is sword fights because the technique of using. Anyways, in movie history, this one's talked. This is like in top 5 list. Top 5 throughout history. There's only a few other movies that have sword fights that were as well done as this one.
Yes.
Yep.
And this one was a romantic fantasy comedy, and not to I'm going to have a sword fight to kill you match. It was, what it was. But all the different, the sword fight, all the different styles that they did for fencing. That was a fencing match, and slash saber. But that was mainly a fencing match. So I take it you enjoyed it, Shadow?
It's my favorite part of the movie. I used to. There have been times where I would just watch that part of the movie just to get pumped for a D&D game. I would literally, I knew where it was on my cassette version because I was always, I would stop it there and then, rewind it, just watch the sword fight many, many, many times. I've seen this movie literally hundreds of times. Every time it ever came on TV, then when I got it on cassette, then when I got it on DVD, I would literally watch it sometimes once a week, just because I enjoyed it so much. And the sword fight, I've probably seen closer to 500 times. There were times my friends and I would just watch it, rewind it, watch it again. Just all of the moves and the flamboyant behavior and the banter back and forth and the flips and the somersault type things. Just it was all set up for it. Even the rope thing that they swung on had hand grips just perfectly for it. I imagine they must have
built that.
Well, no, taken many, many, many takes to film it just right.
Now, I guess my question is do you think it was really those two, or do you think they had actual, fencers come in and do it? I would like to think
a little bit of both. I'm sure there were parts that they couldn't do.
Yeah.
Some of the flips, they probably just said, we got someone who could do this part. I would bet money that there were at least 2 other gentlemen doing parts of that scene besides Carrie Ells and Mandy Patinkin. If not half a dozen people to make that work. But in the end, it doesn't. You can't see the transitions. It
was done beautifully. It was absolutely done beautifully.
And even to this day, I can't think of any movie that has a better sword fight sequence. Not because of just the skill or anything like that, but just the overall enjoyment and
Overall, okay.
lightheartedness. You know, there are probably sword fighting scenes that are grittier and more gruesome and more realistic, etc. But that's not what they were shooting for. They were shooting for an enjoyable scene of banter, of getting to know these two individuals through their banter and to show how they really shouldn't be fighting, which is proven at the end by the Man in Black being unable to kill this man who he should, you know, by all rights, you know, especially as a pirate, kill, but he couldn't because he admired him so much because he recognized the skill and they both recognized the skill each other had it been, you know, had they both wanted to do each other in, it would have been a different fight, but they didn't. They literally did not from the very beginning. They were both, you know, like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, you know, and that was, you know, the beginning of a you know, imagining a wonderful friendship as we see at the very end of the movie.
Right. Now, Jack.
Also,
yeah.
Before we go on to the next part, wasn't the mission originally to kill Buttercup? That was the goal.
Right.
The idea was they were going to take her to the enemy country, kill her, have her body found by, I guess, the prince and his lackey, and so they can declare a war on the country and be justified for doing it. I believe that was the plan.
Because I was wondering why they didn't just kill her immediately.
Because they wanted to find her body. They wanted to have witnesses that they found her body at the border of the enemy lands that they were headed toward, so that they could blame it on
the enemy nation.
Right.
The enemy nation.
Or Florin, which were both actually, I believe they're two real countries that did exist.
Yeah, they were. That was the fun thing about it. They were, you know, most of the places they talked about in the movie were real places. When Vinny got pissed off at Andre's Giant, he's like, "Do I need to send you back to be a bouncer in Switzerland?" And it's like Greenland, whatever. Yeah, somewhere over there. It's like, that's a real place, you know. So yeah, they use real places.
Why would he be in Greenland?
Just because it's near where the story took place.
So it took place in what, Scandinavia, Britain?
Scandinavia. Somewhere around.
Greenland was.
Gilder and Florin, I believe, are near Switzerland, Denmark, that sort of area.
Switzerland and Denmark are not the same area.
Well, whatever. Because a family friend a long time ago mentioned something to that effect, because she came from Holland and said that it's near there.
Greenland and Iceland were both settled by Scandinavians. That's why, you know. There's even conversations that the Scandinavians made all the way over here to America, which would have been Vinland.
Okay, I've heard that millions of times. Here's why it doesn't matter. Because yes, they technically discovered America before Columbus, but what did their discovery amount to? A few outposts that were only a few decades later forgotten by everybody.
No, I'm not arguing that. I'm not saying you just well. Technically, Columbus didn't discover America. Northern America. Columbus discovered the Bahamas. If you want to get technical.
Yeah. Most South Americans consider both North and South America to be one continent, while in North America it's more often divided. Yeah.
So, you're right. You're right. He did discover, but I'm just, I've had issues with the whole Christopher Columbus story, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, so the sword fight happened. I want to know, As a young director, a budding director in the world of cinema, would you have filmed any part of what we talked about any differently, or would you have left it the way it was?
No, I would have left it. I don't think I would do anything differently. I mean, I might have done a few minor changes, and of course I wouldn't have done everything exactly the same, but it's impossible to tell how I would have done it without having knowledge of what was done, because knowing what was done, I would most likely just do the same unless I saw some better opportunity.
That's fair. That's fair.
It's a classic for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes, you know, even Meathead could get something right.
I would absolutely, that whole scene right there, I think would be magnificent. But I would not want to have to D&D that scene out because I'd love to run Princess Bride as a D&D campaign. I think it would be fun. I would definitely have to change a few things, unfortunately. But
yeah, you'd have to change a lot.
Yeah.
It's really hard to try to do things like that when not only everybody knows how it's going to end, but it's really a rather short process. It's barely a 2-hour movie, I think, and you would just be dragging it out. And I think it would just be more enjoyable to watch the movie, and I think it would be more fun to play what happened later.
Yeah.
Oh, also, you reminded me. I'm not sure if this is the right place for it. Actually, yes, I will talk about it later.
I'll say it's never stopped us in the past.
You're right. It has to do with the royalty.
Oh,
the King and Queen.
Yes,
I'm bad. I know I promised I wouldn't make any political jokes on this one, but when I saw the king, I'm like, oh, it's President Biden. It must be his nap time. And I'm like, what the fuck did that come from?
Except that the king here seemed like a decent fellow.
Yeah, that's fair.
Now, what I wanted to bring up was the crown that they wore.
The high spiky.
Yeah, I don't know where the golden spiked crown thing came from, which is weird. Something that seems like something I would want to know, because if you've looked at any European flag, a lot of them have crowns on them, and at most crowns, and even the flag I have right here, most flags don't look like that.
Most crowns.
Most crowns?
Similar flags.
Crowns are weird. Historically, I'm not saying all crowns look alike, but they've always been a crown. And most of the medieval ones were just small little spikes on that whole fucking nonsense that one had.
Yeah, that one almost looked like a Dark Lord crown, just spray painted gold. It looked, it had kind of a, if you would have spray painted it black and then dry brushed it gold, to give it a darker look to it, it would have fit in a Lord of the Rings fantasy style movie better than it did here. It just seemed really, really tall and spiky.
Not only that, it's just crowns, the stereotypical golden spiked crown.
Yeah.
Most kingdoms didn't have those.
Right.
And they're more round.
Yeah,
more roundish, sort of
it would have been round,
almost like a cooking pot with red velvet or what have you interlaced throughout it, and that whole thing. They're usually more like that, and this one was just something almost wicked looking.
I think it.
I mean, I see why people don't typically wear those.
It kind of reminded me of the Pope hat, if that makes any sense.
But then the clergyman had something like
clergyman. Yeah, we'll get to him in a second.
I know that part is just classic, just absolute classic humor. Casting the gentleman who could speak like that for that scene is just another example of every little nuance of this movie was just so well done it's absolutely amazing that it was actually done by the people who did it.
I think
Rob
guy,
Reiner. I'm not going to lie. I can't stand him in any. There's nothing about him that I like, but I will admit this movie was the reason he was born. He brought so much joy and happiness to people through this movie. It almost makes up for the shitty human being that he was.
So Rob Reiner was the director.
Yeah, he's got some really. He had. I mean, personality aside, the person he is aside, him as a director, he's really got some good movies underneath his belt. And you mentioned Spinal Tap. That's
right. Yes, I know.
Misery.
And that movie was good. That movie was really, really good. I even had both soundtracks for the soundtrack for the first movie, which is amazing. Michael McKean in Spinal Tap is one of the smartest men to ever walk the face of the earth, but he's also pretty lefty. Unfortunately, my father and I were amazed watching him speak in various situations, and sometimes people can have like two sides.
Yeah.
To them.
It's just I've never thought person's politics should influence the movies that they make, or vice versa. The director should be held against?
It's troublesome and bothersome for me that people could do something so incredible, but then on the other side be just awful.
Not all Democrats are evil. Not all Republicans are idiots. So it takes all kinds.
Yeah, we'll do another political live stream another time.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to spar with you, little one. I've been looking forward to that.
I was about to start something and I realized, nope, it's not the place for that.
No, nor was last night.
Nor was last night.
No, it was last night. Yeah. So he gets the man in black. Jesus. Wesley gets past the swordsman, which is an all right, achievement. The brass ring of swordsman, because Indigo was no slouch.
No. But clearly he wasn't the better, which is really, which is kind of funny if you think about it. Wesley only had 5 years of training, but Indigo had decades.
Natural talent versus maybe he was just naturally talent. Natural talent goes a long way.
Well, I think part of it was actual usage.
Yeah.
It's one thing to practice and study, but not to the death. But when you're on a pirate ship and it is always to the death.
And also, I think there was a little bit of wordplay that was, if I'm remembering correctly, I just saw it earlier today, but if I'm thinking of it correctly, there was a little bit of wordplay that threw Indigo off that gave Wesley the upper hand. If I'm remembering, if I'm thinking correctly, I might be off though. Because they were talking the entire time.
Yeah.
And there might have been just a momentary, wait, what did he say? Before then Wesley took the advantage. Which
no, I'm not left-handed either thing. I don't think it was that. It's just I just think Wesley was just the better swordsman.
No, I don't think it was that either. I think there was something else. I should have took note.
Well, like I said, I've watched the sword fight hundreds of times. If you have it on DVD, you can, go to it and you'll see how it's the most enjoyable sword fighting scene in cinematography history. There's nothing better. Maybe for some people there could be, that other movie that I'm not thinking of, but I really can't think of anything that's more enjoyable because it's the spirit of the fight.
Two men outrightly not trying to kill each other. You're absolutely right. I can think of at least 2 other movies that did the sword fights more realistically, more grittier, more bloodletting. That was a real sword fight compared to Princess Bride. But for a contest of skills, this one is far better than almost anyone I can think of.
It's just more enjoyable. You when it's over, you don't feel that sort of aggressive adrenaline surge.
Yeah, Sean, you're right.
It's true.
Yep.
You're right.
Yep. I can't argue that. Anyway, let's move on. Let's get past it because we could actually spend the entire show talking about that damn sword fight.
We could.
Yeah.
The next, he gets past Indigo and he bounces into Fez. Andre the Giant, who was wondering how he was going to take this guy on. Well, if I throw rocks at him, I will crush him. I want to make this fair. So I don't know how in any, when you get somebody the size of Andre the Giant, a wrestling match is fair by any stretch of the imagination.
Don't even sweat it, Sean. You're absolutely right.
No, Sean, don't worry about it. But yeah, you're right. We were.
I could go on for hours about that sword fight.
Yeah, unfortunately, so
for hours about a bunch of stuff.
What do you think? I see? I hate to say it, and I love Andre the Giant. I loved watching him as the reruns of him watching him wrestle as I was a kid. I loved him in this movie, but the wrestling match between him and Wesley was. It was interesting to watch, but it was just.
It was a little quick.
Yeah.
He, he should have known better than to let him get behind him like that. And he literally could have put a lot more effort into slamming Wesley into the rocks. One good slam would have killed him.
But I don't think he wanted to do that.
Yeah, I think he was, like I said, he was just a sweet character that didn't really want to kill him. He knew what he was doing was wrong. He knew that murdering this poor girl was wrong in every sense, and I think that's probably what it was. He just he couldn't. He was dumb enough to take the job. So he couldn't just quit and say, "You're the bad guy. I'm going to help the princess," because his other friend Indigo was also apparently okay with the job.
Oh yeah, John, I completely agree. I just think I don't know if
which I think is the only flaw in the movie. These two good guys, Fezzik and Indigo, took the job in the first place. And then they realized what the job was, and they didn't decide to just throw Vicini overboard. Yeah. Take his money and throw him in the ocean. Let the eels take him and run off with the princess.
We get past Andre's character. I don't want to talk bad about it, but it was just. So
the contest of intelligence.
Yeah, the contest of wit. That it was like, yeah, it goes from Indigo, then Andre perks right back up to the Battle of Wits. And I love how that one went. Because as you're watching it, as the viewer, you don't know which one.
Oh, there was no doubt that Wesley was going to outsmart this pint-sized Napoleon.
Well, he's Italian.
The way he did it was absolutely brilliant. He didn't just put poison in one cup; he put in both cups.
Right, but that was
because he already built up immunity to the poison to begin with.
Right, which is the only way it could have gone down.
Yeah, I mean,
The fact that the guy was so smart that he didn't see that as a thing.
As an option, yeah. The guy would not poison himself, but not poison himself. He wants to put it further away from himself. And he puts it further away. I would see that, and he would put it closer to himself. And
that whole banter scene was one of the better written scenes. Actually, they really must have put a lot of time into making sure that Wallace could really pull that off with the way he talked. You know, his little bit of a speech impediment there thing going on. And it is one of the classic scenes of that movie.
I have to say, though, Wallace is one of the better characters on Deep Space Nine. I'm just going to throw that out there and whatever. I don't care.
Who did he play? I don't remember. I never watched
the Grand Pumbus of the Ferengis. He was.
Yeah, you're right. I do remember him being there. Now that you mention it, I've seen a few episodes, and I do remember him as that character.
I liked him as that character. Anyways, I liked him in Young Sheldon though too. I like him in Young Sheldon. But that's besides the point. The timing for the scene was awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's weird because it kind of went with a card game called was it Monty? Not Monty.
Three card Monty.
Yeah, 3-card Monty. It kind of has the same formula on that one.
Certainly.
And word of advice, Jack, if you see somebody trying to play this game with you, just walk away. You're not going to win. It doesn't matter how quick you are on the eyes. Yet he is already outsmarted you by having you sit down and throw down your money. Just walk away.
Yep.
I should know. I play the game. Anyways. Oh, Sean, you have nothing to worry about. I'm just, as characters that Wallace has played throughout his acting career, I just remember him from Deep Space Nine as being having a really good role in that one. So it gets past him, and she's fighting him the entire way. She's just absolutely, let me go. My prince, my soon-to-be husband will come save the day. You know, then he doesn't throw himself off the cliff, but he kind of rolls. She pushes him. And his words was, "As you wish," which makes her realize, oh shit, I know this guy. That part was kind of like, okay, I get it. I didn't like that part. Not saying I didn't like that part. I didn't.
Yeah, like I said, it was hard to accept that she didn't know it was him until then.
Right. I mean, if somebody's got you,
except for the dickish behavior, the way he was treating her, you know, because he finally rescued her, and he should have just said, "It's me," you know. But instead, he had to, you know, the life of a pirate for 5 years had gotten to him and embittered him, and he wanted to find out the truth about his true love. You know, was she really, you know, willingly going to marry this
guy?
This prince.
Asshat.
Pretty much, yeah.
You know, I could even say what he was in sign language. If you really want to know. Raging, cock, blister, sign language. There we go.
Wow.
I dated a girl who did sign language. So when we'd argued in sign language. So I got really good at making up, you know, saying things. Anyways. Got past him, rode down the hill. Then there was a cutoff scene where the grandpa and the grandson were talking. Was this then And there was little mini cutoff scenes where they went back to the grandpa and grandma, grandpa and grandson. And Joseph. I'm trying to remember if this was part of it. Did it slide back into them? Because their interactions while he was telling the story to his grandson were some of the best in the movies. Some of the best.
They were.
Yeah, like I said,
because I'd completely forgotten them. I forgot that was a part of the movie.
It's like when I was talking about.
Yeah, they were the best part.
Rollerball, the movie.
Right.
The games, the 3 games in the movie are like this part of the story. They're what everybody focuses on, and they forget all the little things in between the 3 games in the movie. The scenes where it's just the other characters outside of the roller derby rink or rollerball were what the story was all about. It wasn't the fighting and the combat in the rink. Right. That was sort of like an after effect of the story, or just a part of the story that wasn't as important until obviously the last game. But the little bits with Peter Falk and Fred Savage are what the story is about. It's sharing this love of a story to make someone's life better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the little boy was sick in bed, and the grandfather saw his opportunity to share a family tradition from father to son to grandson of reading this story that literally couldn't. That part can't be accurate because the story wasn't old enough for it to be a real tradition. You know what I mean? Even the author's name of the book was different than the author who actually wrote the book, which is probably some sort of nod to someone else. The original author, Goldman, was probably giving somebody else credit for the story. Maybe maybe his grandfather on his mom's side, or something like that, because that's what the whole story is about: is this love and this tradition, and passing on a great story, just like the author passed the story on to us, but he also was showing how the story could be passed on to other people later on. Someday, little guy right here could tell the story to his grandkids.
Right. The movie was almost a word-for-word copy of the novel. I don't think I've seen any better.
Except for the ending there, Sean. The last paragraph of the novel should not have been written. It literally should not have been written. But that's how he was.
The director knew where to cut from the book. He knew exactly. He's like, no.
Yeah, absolutely. It would have if they would have ended it other than with the kiss. It would not have been Hollywood worthy. It would have been almost. It would have been almost as if it was a Japanese tragedy.
So they get into the swamp, and they're doing.
You know what? I'm gonna have to take my intermission here. I have to do my DM thing.
Why though?
Because I just drank 2 bottles of water and there's nowhere for them to go but out.
What have you been up to this week?
Not much. Well, actually, a lot.
Hey, Max.
I've done a lot. Oh, hello.
So now, are you happy that you saw this movie? Was this a good topic for us?
Yeah. I'm glad I watched it.
Compared to last week's conversation, bloody hell.
The best thing that came out of this was the fact that my dad found out that he still had his copy of Team America.
Oh no. I've yet to see that movie. I have.
You haven't seen it?
No.
They took it off Netflix just January.
See, I've never been into that kind of humor. I make fun of the world as a whole, enough by myself. I don't need much help. And it was made by the guys who did South Park. So I'm like, it was. Container man, ew. That's not right, Max.
What is that? Actually, don't tell me. I don't want to know.
You'll find out when you get older.
Oh no. Why?
Because you might have to have something. It's a catheter. Do you not know what a catheter is?
No. No.
I think I would let that one have your dad explain what a catheter is to you. I like to hear his explanation as well. Just out of curiosity. Yeah, hey Max, you're absolutely right. You know when you'll need one. And I had alcohol poisoning once for one of my camping events, and I woke up with one. I'm like, oh goodness. But what is your favorite scene so far? What has been your favorite scene? Are you like with your dad, the sword fight, or was there something else you really enjoyed in this movie?
Yeah, probably the sword fight. Although the scenes with the grandfather and the grandson were good.
Yeah. I liked. I don't know. I like the sword fighting for what it was, but it's not my favorite scene. I'm weird that way. I don't even like the contest of wit. I mean, I liked it, but it wasn't my favorite. Well, no. Well, no, I know what my favorite scene was. It's towards the end. We'll get to it.
Yeah, the contest of wits. I'll just say he has probably the 5th most Italian name I've ever heard.
That's fair. Yeah. He has an amazing.
Fact, it wasn't making stereotypical hand gestures the entire time.
Inconceivable. I don't think that word means what you think it means.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're about ready to get into. The context of which is most quotable. The entire movie has some major quotable parts in it. From inconceivable to the contest of wits to as you wish. Those are the later on. Yeah, we'll get to that one too. What was it? What was the other one? I'm trying. The whole no more rhyming. Now I mean it. Does anybody want a peanut? Then the last part of the movie, even Miracle Max is quotable as hell. You think they'll make it? They'll need a miracle. Have fun storming the castle. Yeah, you killed my father. Prepare to die. It's weird for me to see kids with shirts that have these quotes on. That in the Goonies. Have you ever seen the movie The Goonies?
No, actually.
We might have to put that on the list.
Sorry, guys.
That's fine. There are several movies that came out in the 80s, but the 80s movies, to me, these are the movies that made the 80s. Princess Bride, Goonies, Labyrinth.
What was
it? Goonies, Princess Bride, Labyrinth, Dark Crystal, made the 80s. Those are like for fantasy type movies. Well, Goonies is not fantasy, but it does have pirates in it. But those movies made the 80s. Now,
I never saw that movie all the way through.
Which one, the Goonies?
Yes, I know I have to, but I never got a chance to.
Yes, sir.
Did you mention E.T.?
Not E. Yeah, no, but I need to. E.T. is also a really important one from the 80s. Now, Max has this to say to you, Shadow.
Get a catheter. Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Your son does not know what that is, so I figured I'd leave it up to you to explain to him what a catheter was.
Well, why though?
All right, what's the other? There's something going on in chat. Yeah, quoting
I drink a lot of water, and it's incredibly hot up here.
Sean says he hasn't seen Goonies all the way through. Here's the one. My daughter had a KISS shirt at 11 years old. I asked if she was a member of the Kids
KISS Army. Yeah, I was actually a member of that. Fourth grade, they were the biggest thing musically for my entire school for whatever reason. They were.
Oh yeah.
They had a lot of actually good music. Their Destroyer album was absolutely amazing, even to this day.
I'd say that's their best album. That Destroyer was their best album.
And I wanted to say something as soon as I went down there. I realized we were talking while watching the movie. The lightning sand scene was absolutely amazing. If you watch when Wesley dives into that sand, even when Buttercup falls in it, that was, because there was no water. It was just sand. It shouldn't have worked the way it did, but it did. And I can only imagine that they had some sort of incredibly large elevated platform that, they dove into, and they had to have sand just constantly running in to fill up where the stuntman dived into that. That scene was so well done to make it work.
I remember this from science class. If you get like a bucket of sand, right, and at the very bottom of the bucket, you drill a hole and you put it in a tube, and you have air pushing through the tube into the sand. The sand will, turn into a liquid type, not liquid, but has the same. It becomes quicksand, but without the water concept. I don't know how they do it, but I keep thinking that they do it in that, something to do with that. And, there had jumping, anytime they do a scene where the guy gets buried in anything, first of all, it's a stunt person. I can't imagine the insurance saying, okay, the actor will be able to do this. That's why we have stuntmen.
Real quick, no, my favorite KISS song was not I Was Made for Loving You, nor was it Lick It Up. It was either Detroit Rock City or Rock and Roll All Night.
Every day
that song, so many memories of that song just being played where I used to dance as a young kid, would just electrify the entire room. Even though I was too young to understand what they actually meant, it just lit up every room. That whole Destroyer album was just absolutely phenomenal. Even Beth had to be on that album, and those of you who know.
If Peter Criss is known for nothing else other than be the drummer for KISS part-time, because he wasn't always with them, Beth will be the song that we played when anybody thinks of him.
I actually was a huge part of the disco scene. I was in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, and I was taken to they were called CB radio breaks, where the people who worked Channel 9 React, my mom was a member of the emergency response people who would take those emergency calls and then transfer them to the fire or police department or whatever was necessary. Every Friday or Saturday night, they would all meet at this bar, and I was dragged along. And it was a bar with a dance floor, and I actually won a dance contest once as a young kid because I didn't have any choice. I was just brought up in that environment. And so when people, give disco a hard time, I get it, but at the same time, it had a very positive effect on a lot of people. It was kind of despite the cocaine and alcohol that was prevalent in that era, it still had a somewhat wholesome and positive effect on people for the time. And I'll always, one of the reasons I like Blue Oyster Cult is because they were where heavy metal and disco men had a baby, and that baby was Blue Oyster Cult. And to this day, I don't have the negative feelings toward it that a metal guy like myself should, because I saw the positive effects that it had on a lot of people. It really was something you had to see it to believe it, to realize just how much fun people were having at that time. And it wasn't raunchy, it wasn't dirty, it was the melding of a lot of different things between ballroom dancing and modern music, and it was just really something to behold, to really understand how much of a positive effect it really had for that short period of time.
I have to ask, Jack, are you a disco fan?
No.
He's probably heard disco music that he doesn't hate. The song "Dancing Queen" by ABBA, to this day, still people love that song, and it's just a weird thing. I know we're going off on a tangent, but I heard the song the other day, and I didn't cringe, I didn't hate it, and
I always seem to have
a lot of fun memories.
I always seem to have a violent reaction to that band. I don't know why, but I always seem
ABBA?
They
were. I don't know anything about the people, but I know that song will forever be a positive thing.
No, that's fine. I'm just saying, me as a person, I always seem to have a violent reaction to that band. I've never been able to figure out why. Anyways, let's go back into the swamp. Not Swamp Thing. That's a whole different movie, and I still think Jack is a little bit too young to watch that movie. Great comic book series. Boy, was that was, I don't even know if I can get my hands on the original Swamp Thing movie. Anyways, anywho's. We're in a swamp, and she finally finds out that the man in black is her long-lost love. He never said "I love him," but every time he said I wish, it was his way of saying "I love you," and she finally caught on to that. So they're walking through the swamp, and she's asking him, "Are those rodents of unusual size exist?" And he's like, "No." Then about a second later, he gets jumped by her.
Yep.
We talked about that a little bit ago. I think this was, like I said, this was back in Jim Henson heyday. They were. So I really think those things were puppets. I don't know how much animatronic was in them, but I definitely think they were. There was nobody in them. If I find out later on that there was somebody actually in them, that'd be cool, whatever. But as of right now, I don't think anybody was in them. Then
I did think the one that he killed died a little too easy, but I see how hard it must have been to make it really as agile and quick as it should have been.
Puppets cannot imitate. It's hard for puppets to imitate, or even humans to imitate animal movement, especially quickness. I think those rats would be considered dire rats if you go into D&D terms.
Probably something like that.
Then we were talking about the quicksand or the lightning sand, as you said it was called. I don't remember. What was it called? Lightning sand?
Yeah, it was lightning sand. The fire spurts were
interesting.
Yeah, it was. it didn't make any sense, but whatever. It was a fantasy thing. Because it literally, the way the trees looked, that place would have burnt down quick.
Right. I'm thinking the lightning sand was a produce of the methane gas that was produced underground. And that's why you get the flames and the sand pit or whatever it was, the way it was. Because, like I said, in science class, the instructor showed us what would happen if you put air tank into with the sand, and it becomes like quicksand. And anyways, wow, this is not science class. Keep moving on there, bub. So
the surrender scene. That was next.
I was about ready to get there. She knows that he is Wesley, and there's a standoff between him and the prince.
Yeah, I absolutely hated that part. We were talking about the Last of the Mohicans, and it reminded me of that. I would have taken my chances. If we both die, we both die. But I'm not surrendering after all that they've been through. And she just jumps up. You promise not to hurt him. I'm like, you know what he's going to do to you, right? He's basically going to rape you on your wedding night. You would suffer through that, as opposed to see me get killed knowing damn well that's just going to happen anyways.
Well, according to you, the prince is gay, so.
Well, true. Or maybe.
That's what you said.
Right. I mean, a real evil prince would probably rape her then kill her. But it was a family movie. But that's all I could think of is you just pissed away everything I've done for the past 5 years. The Man in Black thinking you're gonna just piss all that away, all my plans, all my suffering and struggling to rescue you, only to just surrender at the end when we're outnumbered a little. Sure, we'll take a couple of crossbow bolts, but he could have finished off all of them. Still.
Right. She made her decision not for being selfish, not for being,
true love. I get it. And it couldn't have ended, that scene couldn't have ended any other way. But it was so infuriating.
If that scene didn't end that way, then the movie would have ended there.
Right. I totally understand that. But I'm of the type that would have been so be it.
Yeah, but then assuming that these archers actually knew how to shoot, they'd probably each have 5 crossbow bolts in them.
There's only 4.
Oh, there's only 4?
And they wouldn't have shot her. He would have been Boromir to a tree, stapled to a tree. But he might have still been able to kill the prince.
Those soldiers.
Because that's all that needed to happen.
No, they are. Their crossbows were already loaded.
Right.
As soon as he tried to do anything, he'd have 4 crossbow bolts in him.
He might have been able to dodge 1 or 2.
I don't know, Haas. Those things.
The second he moved an inch, he's been skewered.
I mean, there was a reason why.
We also saw Indigo take a knife to the gut and 2 stabs to the shoulders, and he still managed to kill Count Rugal.
It's different. It is a completely different.
I understand. I'm stubborn and obstinate.
This is what I think would have happened if they had tried to do anything different. As soon as he moved, or as soon as she moved, he would have 4 crossbow bolts going straight through him, and all the other guards would have grabbed her and maybe grabbed him too. He would have been dead there, and things would have.
I don't even think they would have grabbed him. I think they would have just left him there for the damn rats. That's what I would have done.
Well, no, what I mean by grabbed him is they would have gotten him and killed him.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a reason why I can't remember what pope it was, but
unless he used the princess as a shield.
That's a horrible thought.
It could have worked. He might have only taken a couple in the back.
He would still be dead.
I understand.
He would still be very dead.
There's a reason why a pope a long time ago outlaw the use of crossbows in medieval warfare. It's like bringing a gun to a knife fight. There's no fair advantage.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an unfair advantage. Yeah.
So that leads us to the pit of despair.
Oh, yes. Well, no. Yes and no.
The little conversation between Count Rugen and the Man in Black, that was...
no, I'm not talking about the conversation. I was talking about the gathering of unlikely forces to help save the Man in Black, Indigo and Fez.
That happened a little later.
I did it?
Yes, it did, because Count Rugen knocks the Man in Black on the head.
He goes into the pit.
And then the guard, the head guard, talks to the prince. The prince says, empty the thieves' forest, and I need all these men guarding my wedding, etc. And then you see the thieves' forest, and you see Indigo and Fezzik get reunited, and we need the Man in Black. He vested you your greatness. That whole scene was, again, classic. Indigo being the classic drunk. Go back to the beginning. That whole scene.
Yep, you're right.
Was pretty quick. He sobered him up, and they.
Man, when it comes to movies and scenes, sobering somebody up, no movie will ever be able to beat Back to the Future 3 when they try to sober up Doc Brown with the hot sauce. I don't know if you guys seen that one.
Yeah, I've seen it twice, and I honestly can't remember that scene.
Yeah,
but
it beats the traditional. You just keep dunking the person's head in the water until they sober up. Whatever. But so the princess has a change of heart and tells Prince that she is wrong and she wants to go with Wesley. So the prince tells her, right?
Well, it's not really a change of heart. She's just telling him that she's not going to go through with it. She'll kill herself before she goes through with it, which she really shouldn't have taken much time. She should have been kicking and screaming the whole time.
The thing is, though, he didn't want to marry her. He wanted to marry her so that he now has a wife. He's king and she's queen. And then, oh look, the enemy killed the queen. Let's go to war.
Right. Even though his father was still alive, and the whole boo scene, that was cute. Fred Savage getting thoroughly into the story and upset that she's getting married to Humperdinck. Who kills Humperdinck?
The grandpa. Maybe we need to stop here and I come back tomorrow. No, grandpa. Oh, it's good. Oh, it's all right. Please keep reading.
That was one of my favorite of the scenes with the grandfather and grandson, showing how how quickly the little boy got into the story. He probably never had a real story read to him like that. By that time in his life, and he really got into it. And he's thinking everything, or saying everything that we're all thinking our first time around. Who kills Humperdinck? Why are you reading this to me? This is crap. It was.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If they remake it, I will boycott any remake of this movie. Just as I usually vehemently boycott any remake ever. I absolutely hate thought and notion of remakes. All you're doing is just showing you have no talent but to pervert and warp and destroy something that was so great that it makes you want to make a remake, thinking that you somehow could make it better. The only reason you want to make it is because it was so good in the first place. Leave it alone. You want to prove your talent, make something original that we can discuss and love and enjoy. It's a whole brand new thing of your own creation. All remakes, in my opinion, are absolute travesties and nothing better than theft.
I
disagree with that on a fundamental level.
I disagree
I
with
can't
that.
think of any remake of anything that comes to mind that was better than the original. Just on principle, if it was that good, just watch it. You know, maybe make a little homage to it.
The original movie sucks ass. I mean, there's just nothing good about the original attempt of making the movie. Let's take Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers, back in the early, 80s. They're doing a reboot of that. It's basically.
I never really played any of the Mario games. Never saw the movies. Had absolutely no interest in any of that sort of.
I'm just using that as an example. I'm just using. There's been a lot. I'm trying to think of a crappy movie. There's been movies where they made where the first go of it's been pure crap. Then they do a reboot a few years later, and it's 10 times better.
Okay, I have one thing here that everybody who will ever see this will probably hate me for, but I got thinking because of the whole Johnny Depp thing, and if you know where I'm going with this, you probably are already grabbing your gun.
The Willy Wonka movie.
Yes, I watched the remake. I didn't much care for it. However, the writer of the original book, his wife hated the original movie, and she wanted there to be a better, more faithful movie. And she said that this is what the author's wife said.
Yeah, but she didn't write it so she can piss off and hold hands with Dan.
You may be right, but she said that the remake with Johnny Depp was what the author would have preferred.
I think it was again.
If the remake,
it was everything that's wrong with Hollywood, in my opinion. Yes, I actually read. Not only did I read that book, I also read James and the Giant Peach, and I love them both, and I have very fond memories of it. And Gene Wilder was an absolute superstar in that movie.
Those kids should have died. Well, we're not actually talking about that movie. We could do a review of that movie, but those kids should have died. All but Charlie. They should all be dead.
You're correct. They should all be dead.
They should all be dead. Not walking out misformed or not secretly pushed out the back door as they did in the Gene Hat. They should all be dead.
Yeah.
The way it came off as if they wanted to have Michael Jackson play Willy Wonka, and I hated it.
Yeah,
I just got that. Yeah. I hated Johnny Depp as Willy Wonka. It was absolutely nightmarishly creepy. Gave off such a pedo vibe to me that I just got sick to my stomach every time I would see a commercial of it. Gene Wilder was an absolute wonderful human being. He was a gift to humanity. And Gene Wilder was absolutely just a lovely human being.
This looks like this is going to be a part 2, which is fine. Yeah, the newer book was closer, was more faithful to the book, and I think that's more important. I don't care how many times the movie is fucking made, but the book that is the movie that is almost word by word, like this one is closer to the book, will always be my favorite. Because you are not using I don't want your ideas on the movie. I want you to film the way the movie is written, or the book is written.
Also, I'm just going to say, you were saying that remaking a movie is a travesty and it's awful and it's just straight up theft. But didn't you say that if you were ever to make a movie adaptation of something, you should just copy the book word for word?
Literally, yes. But I don't know that to be accurate. I would literally have to break out a copy of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and go through it while watching the original movie to determine that. So, maybe growing up with that movie, it was perfect. There was nothing wrong with it. it didn't need to be remade. It was only remade.
Well, no, it was remade because the author and the author's wife didn't like the original because changes that were made in the original movie didn't sit right with the creators.
I suppose, but
For one example, what was her name? The gun woman, the girl who
Veruca Salt.
Yes, Veruca Salt. The way that she dies in the original movie is nothing like the way. Wait, no, not the gun woman, the rich woman, the rich girl.
Avianca?
The rich spoiled girl. The way that she dies in the original movie.
That was Veruca Salt. From the Salt family.
Okay, then no, I said the woman. We're talking. It doesn't matter. The rich girl, the way she dies. Yeah, the names, it doesn't matter for this. The way the rich girl died in the original movie is nothing like the way it happened in the book. And the way it happened in the book was the way they all died was supposed to be a lesson or something to how they acted in life, what their crimes were, what was the thing that was wrong with them was related to the things that happened.
Oh, yeah. This is why I said if you ever go back and read Dante's Inferno, then read Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, it's the same damn book, just on a different avenue. It is its own creature.
Yeah, but in the movie, the way the rich girl died has not much to do with her character. They aren't very similar at all. I mean, she falls down. It doesn't have anything to do with her character, her vice. Whilst in the second movie, the remake, it happened how it happened, just the way it happened in the book.
Well,
as one example.
Sean, I appreciate that we can entertain you with our total Greek arguments. You mind if we run a little bit later, as we did last week? Or do you guys have to go?
No. We can keep this going. I'd rather finish
this, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a typical Seaner type of thing, an hour and a half movie, and we're gonna pick it apart for 3 hours.
You mean Max? But yeah, well, Max.
Half the time we're gonna be talking about different movies.
But Sean is right. This is a total geek argument. This is how people who care about the stuff that they care about argue. I'm not saying that Jack is wrong. I will not say Shadow is right. I will not say that I'm wrong.
Isn't that the same thing?
But but we're all three of us coming from this with not paid point of views. We're all coming from this with our.
Well, you're not getting paid. We got our check last week.
Working on it. But anyways, well, thank you, Sean.
So we were at the Thieves' Forest.
There, yeah, it's at the end of it was okay. God, I love you too. All right, the Prince Pumpernickel has told the guards whatever, Prince Dumbfuck. Excuse my language. Like, this is my show, and I'm past 30 seconds in. The prince that needs to die told the guards to go clear out the forest of bandits. Why they were doing that, we bump back into Andre the Giant's character and Indigo, who is a drunk. Which you're right, Shadow. Him doing the drunken, him fighting drunk was still better than the guards fighting Silver. So that says a great deal about this guy's skill. Then they go and rescue Wesley.
Well, after he suffers through 50 years of his life being sucked away, which I thought was kind of, there was some sort of joke in there that I'm not sure exactly what they were trying to get at. But
well, you said there's some sort of joke in there, therefore you know something.
Well, yeah, it's just,
Well, I certainly don't get it.
There's some reason why they went with, the suction, the sucking his life away through the suction pump thing. There was, I don't understand why they couldn't have just, done something a little different.
Probably because they wanted something more than just your typical medieval torture device.
Right, something that would visibly break.
I realize typical medieval torture devices says absolutely nothing because there's no such thing.
Oh yeah, there was. There were torture
No, there's
devices.
not. I mean, there was no typical. They were all extremely outlandish, bizarre creations.
Oh man, some of the things that that's a video for a whole different time. Torture devices throughout the millennials. Oh, that's horrifying. But that being said, I like to think, and this is where I inject my wishful thinking into a movie like this. I would like to think that the will of Agony did not work. But that's just me. All right. Our two new friends find the Bino servant, wherever the hell he was.
His name was just Albino.
The albino.
Credits.
They follow him around with the wheelbarrow, and then you have that scene where they accidentally knock him out, and Indigo has to pray to his father's spirit to find which way it is.
I really like that scene a lot.
Yeah.
I know he wasn't a paladin, in any stretch of the imagination, but I really liked that prayer scene, the way the light was coming down from the top, the way they shot that whole scene, just the skill of acting that Andy Katinkin had for that scene, at least, just really made me love that character, and that whole scene is one of the classics. And then of course, he thinks he fails, and with a sigh of resignation, leans his head against the tree, and creak, it opens, and I'm just like, that is so perfect. You feel the spirit of your father guiding you, and then you open your eyes, and you're just like, oh crap, we're doomed. And then the door opens up magically, proving that you were wrong, and that you are on.
Yep.
Yes, John, our six-finger man. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Christopher Guest was great. He played that character to the hilt, so to speak, and he was great at it.
So they find him, they go down and save him. And for the most part, he's not dead, but he's no longer amongst the land of the living per se.
He's mostly dead.
Yeah,
he's mostly dead. So they take him to one of my favorite characters,
Miracle Max.
Miracle Max. Yes, Max, we're saying you're a miracle. 3 weeks ago, we're telling you how bad you were when we were talking about Stranger Things. Now we're telling you that you're a miracle worker, if you're still out there.
I remember that.
Yeah. I felt attacked. Yes, you are being attacked.
I feel attacked. Yep, that's because you are.
So, Billy Crystal and Kara Kane played a wonderful duel with the husband and wife act that they had in that movie.
Witch.
And the witch. Max.
I'm not a witch.
I'm not a witch. I'm your wife.
I'm not even sure I want to be that after that whole. Their chemistry was classic. The scene was wonderful. Have fun storming the castles. You think it'll work? It'd take a miracle. That's so perfect.
So yeah,
so well written.
Miracle Max didn't want anything to do with it until he finds out is to put dumbass back in his place. Yeah, you could keep saying his name. I'm giving him a new one every time I have to say Prince. That's how much I dislike that character.
Because he was he did it. He played that character perfectly. He was a douchebag before douchebags existed, or maybe they did. I don't know, but he was. You know, when you use that word douchebag, that is who you should picture. Chris Sarandon did it perfect.
Yep.
Anybody else would not have done it. He had everything going for him, and he was a douchebag.
Yeah.
He just found some random lady on the street. Hello, woman. You're gonna be my wife, and I don't actually want to marry you. I don't want to. No, I just want to kill you to start a war.
I think we might have missed it, but there was a nightmare scene that Princess Buttercup had.
The boo scene. We talked about it briefly when we talked about how Fred Savage just freaked out, thinking that it couldn't possibly be real. You know, you're very smart. Shut up. that was, again, every line was crafted by artisans who really knew what they were doing before they put it on film. They knew this was something special, and they turned it into a classic. There's a reason why for 20 years or more this was the Valentine's Day movie every channel wanted to have on their schedule. Valentine's Day for 20 years, I knew somewhere on one of the three main networks I would get to see that movie, and I did.
Yes, he did.
Well said.
Smug fuck. I love our chat. I look forward to this every Sunday. The chat that we have just drives the show for me to keep doing it with you guys. It really is. I mean, don't get me wrong. I appreciate you guys' company, but
double barrel right at you, buddy.
Wait, what just happened?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Still content. You looked away just the right moment. Just be thankful I don't make you watch The Watchmen with me.
I'm never watching that movie. I don't care. I don't care how good you say it is. I don't want to see that.
It's my favorite movie of all time.
I wonder why.
It has nothing to do with the giant blue dick in the screen. It has nothing to do with that.
I wasn't going there. Anyways, back to the family wholesome show that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Blue penises in it. Oh my God, I'm being the family friendly one in this conversation. How the hell did that happen?
That's
Don't sweat it, man.
It doesn't even feel good on me. Now I have to take a shower and beer or something.
Mine is just vinegar and peroxide.
Anyways. So they get done with Miracle Max, which is probably easily the most quotable, most watched, rewatched part in that scene. It is up there with the sword fight and the way, there are certain parts of these movies that you just want to stop and rewind. I don't want to watch the whole movie. I just want to watch this scene of the movie. So they get him back to the land of the living. He is back alive, but he is paralyzed from the nose down. I mean, neck down, realistically, because he can move his mouth. But and they get to the gate of the castle, and he's like, "Why should I trust you two? You and another guy tried to kill me a little bit ago. Oh no, everything has changed." Conversation talk.
There's too much. Let me sum up.
What?
There's too much. Let me sum up.
Yes. So they have the meeting of the bros and decide to work together. You can't be my enemy one day and be my best and my friend the next. That's just a really weird concept that they're trying to push in this movie. That's something that happens over times. That's not like
right, but he did, he did have enough instant respect for the two of them upon their first meeting that I think it made a little sense that I'd sooner destroy a stained glass window such as an artist as yourself, and sleep well and dream of large women. He knew these were good guys in a bad situation. That line. Oh, that's a great line.
That is a great line.
Trust me, I know them all. I've watched this movie. I've probably seen this movie close to 500 times.
I haven't. I've seen this.
Physically possible. Assuming it's a 2-hour movie, that's exactly 1,000 hours of your life on this movie.
I literally.
How could you distribute? How would you distribute that?
I'm 55 years old.
Okay. How long?
I've been very, very fortunate to have.
All right. Give me a paper. Actually, give me the marker.
The movie came out in 1987.
All right.
So the movie's been out. Okay.
When I got the DVD, actually not even the DVD. When I got the cassette, all of my friends came over to watch it, and they didn't all come over at the same time.
Oh yeah, I
remember one day alone, I watched it 2 times. My friend came over, and I told him, "Hey, I got Princess Bride." He's like, "Oh, we're watching it." We watched it. No sooner had we finished it than one of my other D&D buddies came over and, what's up? Oh, we just watched Princess Bride. No way. Let's watch it. I'm like, oh, we just watched it. Oh, and my other friend says, fuck it, let's watch it again. It's a great movie, And we would, like we're doing now, we would deconstruct, different parts of the movie, watch the sword fight over and over again. That's what eventually destroyed the copy that I had, was rewinding the sword fight scene.
The movie is
over and over again.
Jack.
What?
The movie is 98 minutes long.
Okay, 98 minutes.
I'm helping you with your math.
So, moving right along, the storming of the castle.
Apparently, didn't they?
Baby wipe or some sort of
use your pants.
That doesn't work.
He's trying to clear off a dry erase board because he's trying to do the math on the dry erase board. The only problem with the storming of the castle was Indigo dragging the Man in Black while pushing the wheelbarrow with Andre the Giant on it. Absolutely. Yeah. If we thought the climbing of the rope scene for Fezzik was a bit of a stretch, this bumped it up to 11. There's just no way you could anybody with one guy with a wheelbarrow could push Andre the Giant around on a wheelbarrow without being bigger than Andre.
That wasn't a rubber wheel. That was a wooden wheel that should have cracked and fell apart. The whole thing should have cracked.
Absolutely. I did really love and have used the Holocaust cloak or the Apocalypse cloak or whatever it was called numerous times in games. Mine was a little bit different and more powerful, other than just being fireproof.
I always just figured he was just being cheeky. I didn't know that was the actual name for it. My bad. Yeah.
It was technically one of the 2 magic items in the game, that being Indigo's sword that his father made and the cloak. If you don't think that sword was magical, you need to just wake up and accept the fact that it had to be magical.
Hey, I'm not going to argue with that.
Because I said so.
All right, because he said so.
I would accept that, but I guess I have to.
So they get into the castle after the act of great strength, and the wheelbarrow made all its constitution checks so it doesn't break apart. Yeah. They make it into they'll make it into the castle. Then Wesley is just a
Ragdoll.
ragdoll. I mean, he is just a little ragdoll. So Andre the Giant's character has to go put him down, deal with guards, pick him up, rinse and release. As Indigo goes straight towards the six-fingered man. I mean, he is just going. He is a man with a mission. And those two start fighting. And the man with six fingers is a pretty
Runs
good.
like a bitch.
He just runs.
Runs like a bitch.
But he runs like a bitch, but he does know how to use a sword. He does know, and they start fighting, ting, 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 ting. And Indigo is, my name is da-da-da Rodriguez, da-da-da-da. You killed my father. And just keeps saying it and saying it and saying it. Where the guy's like, I don't want to fight you anymore. Just shut the hell up. And he kills him. Unfortunately, you're right. Indigo suffers 2 upper body stab wounds and a gut wound, which are still, depending on how far the blade goes into, are somewhat, they suck. But as long as they don't puncture any intestines or any major veins, they're
Organs.
Nothing critical. They are livable. That's why if you're going to get stabbed, I recommend being a fat guy, because fat guys have fat, and fat, protects you organs better than the skinny guys. Anyways, and then you get okay. So all the castle mayhem is happening, and Wesley finally makes it to Princess Buttercup's room, and he is standing there as Prince Ass Flaps comes walking in.
Laying there.
Yeah, he's laying there. Yeah, right. He's laying in bed because he can't move. Yeah. He's like,
and he just out badasses Prince Humperdinck with the threat of not to the death but to the pain, which was just so well spoken, the way Carrie Ells read those lines.
I mean, isn't that what pirates did every single time, though?
I suppose, but he just had that absolute grim determination that those very words he was speaking had some sort of healing effect on him to the point. Well, maybe I have the strength to stand after all. He gets up, points that sword, drop your sword, and like a pussy, he drops it, grabs his skirt, and sits down and lets himself be tied up, because that's what he was. He was a pussy. And he got what he deserved. He got to live with his cowardice for the rest of his days.
Wait, but what actually happened to him? He just
sat down. Prince Buttercup tied him up, and then Fezzik's outside the window yelling, hey, I got horses. Let's get the hell out of here.
Well, somebody would have found him, and as soon as he found him,
right. They like I said earlier, once they escaped on the horses, it would have only been 20 or 30 minutes tops before they were hot on their heels, and being the greatest tracker of all, Prince Humperdinck would have found their trail quite easily.
Yeah.
But we're not supposed to think about that, because after that is the right. It's actually well said. Then comes the kiss scene at the end that showed you that this is Hollywood at its finest, and this is how a movie is supposed to end. This is how good guys win over evil, unsurmountable odds. This is it. Everything is going to be hunky dory for everybody, and then you have the final grandfather and grandson scene that just chokes me up every time.
Yeah. And that's how the movie ends. In my personal, the way I like to think of it is they made it back. All four of them technically made it back to Wesley's boat, and they just left to Adventures Untold. And I don't want them to do, we talked about a reboot earlier. I don't want them to reboot this movie, but what in mind is them to do a sequel of the kids. Because Princess Buttercup and Wesley had kids. Andre the Giant his character could have had a family, and so did Indigo.
No, Indigo had to become a pirate, and he probably was. They probably all went to Wesley's ship.
Yeah,
Wesley got a new crew as soon as possible, and
wasn't he planning on retiring?
Exactly. That's why he would pretend to be the first mate, so that Indigo could be the Dread Pirate Roberts with his trusty Fezzik at his side until they made enough money to retire. And Wesley would have, ended up in Patagonia or something, living like a king for the rest of their lives. That's how it should end.
Yeah, a reboot would probably have the books ending.
Probably.
Yes,
and I don't.
And it would ruin it. They would want that whole, let's do it grim and brutal and ugly. And no, it's supposed to be a charming romance comedy of true love and the good guys winning at the end and happily ever after. Right. That's what this is supposed to be. Anything else would be someone just shitting on it, literally, and trying to make money off somebody else's masterpiece.
Now, almost everybody's still alive other than Andre. He passed away in 90s. He passed away. He passed away.
Mandy Patinkin is old as dirt.
I want them to come back as their characters, but I want to do the next generation because Prince Pumpernickel is still out there. He can still be a threat. Only it'd be his kids.
I disagree. I think it's perfect as it is. It needs nothing else other than a mention of Mark Knopfler from the Dire Straits. Absolutely wonderful.
Oh yeah,
music. The music, the fight scene music with the castanets. That was genius, pure genius. How often does anybody use that musical instrument anymore? I can't think of an instance other than maybe in the spaghetti westerns where that musical instrument actually comes from. My parents actually had a set of castanets for whatever reason, and maracas, I think, from their visit to Mexico. And I always wondered, I knew what they were, these little things you put on your fingers and and if you've ever seen a woman who knows how to use them, there are very few things sexier than that. Trust me.
I'm not saying. I'm saying I don't want a reboot, but I wouldn't mind a sequel. I mean, I wouldn't outrightly curse the ground if a sequel would be made. I'm fine.
I would like the theaters on fire. I would literally like the theaters on fire. And if not, I would at least. I mean, if not that, I would go out and buy more stink bombs and drop them in the theater.
This is why I call him a liberal.
It doesn't need to be done. It's just.
That's just my opinion. There's a lot of good work out there that I think the story's just not done. And this one had a good story. And if
that just means you love it, like that means you love this movie the way Gygax and Arneson loved The Lord of the Rings and could not leave well enough alone and had to make Dungeons and Dragons. There's a famous story of Gygax or Arneson saying that when they finished the book for the first time, they, whether it's true or not, I've just heard it many times, that they wanted it to continue and thus made Dungeons and Dragons.
But any good
whether
story,
it's true or not, it's the same feeling. You love the movie and you don't want it to end, but it ended. It can't. There's nothing you can do other than share it with more people to make it continue.
That's
in my opinion. But I wouldn't want to, do something that would take 1 millisecond away from the absolute masterpiece that it is. I would not want to change a word, a line, a note, nothing. But sharing it with more people is a gift you can give that does it justice and pays homage to the absolutely wonderful movie that it was. It will always be one of my top 5 favorite movies of all time, including Sean mentioned Fight Club. That is one of my top 5 favorites. Fight Club,
The book was better.
The Watchmen. Right, absolutely. And like he said, the author thought both Princess Bride movie and Fight Club movie were better than the book. I will wholeheartedly agree, just as I agree that the Watchmen movie is better than the comic book. The comic book was phenomenal.
Why is that?
I don't know.
You'd have to experience both of them to understand why the movie is better. One of these days, you'll take that challenge and watch the movie or read the book, and if you like it, you'll go from there. There are things that need to be left alone and shared. I know that doesn't make sense.
Those are
contradictions, right?
That is.
Now, with all this being said, and we're at the end of the we talked about the movie. I kind of have a question for you too. Should we stick in the 80s theme movies when we do movies to stick in the 80s for a while? I mean, there's some.
I think we should hit things that are connectable to games, whatever that may be. Whether it be, a fantasy or science fiction or horror genre that can connect to that type of gaming. That I'm okay with any of that. I'm not going to recommend Fight Club for this show. It's really not the place for that. It doesn't connect to any game.
Yeah,
I can think of.
Well, neither did the movie. That movie.
Which one? Princess Bride?
No.
Fight Club?
No.
The Watchmen? Well, what movie? Just say it.
I'm not it. The one that it was bad.
Oh,
don't.
The one that I made a sequel of.
Yes.
Remember that movie we did a couple of weeks ago?
No. Actually, I disagree with you, Jack, in the pretense that Doom could be considered a sci-fi. There are sci-fi RPGs in the world of Doom.
No, not that movie. He meant the zombie movie.
Oh, The Scientist. I can turn that into an RPG game. I can turn it.
Well, it connected because there are so many zombie games.
Yeah. I don't recommend anybody to watch that movie.
I saw a dumb movie at the dollar store and bought it.
Hey, it's fine. I know. I know that you guys haven't started reading the next Dresden book, and that that's fine. I'm just trying to think of a topic for next one. We could do world building.
Yep.
Let's do world building. Let's see how further down the rabbit hole we've all gotten since we started. Then
we can do that, or we could pick. How far are you in Amber?
Not very far. Halfway. I'm say halfway.
Okay.
Yeah, I say we go with the world building. It's been long enough since we did the first part.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Let's do world building.
I have things I need to say.
Okay.
So that will be the 6th of August. We'll do the world building. The 13th, we'll do the Amber book. If you guys have that one done.
Yeah, I've got to find a way for him to experience it. I have a paperback, but it's literally falling apart. I know it's on audio somewhere. I'm just bummed that I have the cassettes that were narrated by Zelazny, and I just can't seem to find that anywhere else because his reading through of his own books was just wonderful. He brought back a lot of fond memories. And
if that doesn't become an option, would you guys mind reviewing The Labyrinth, the old David Bowie movie?
I don't own it. I could rent it. I hate renting from Amazon, but that's our only option. But I'll look it up and see how much it is. To buy a copy of it on DVD, because I'd rather own it than rent it. It's not much. The price difference isn't all that much. It's not one of the movies that's worth 4 times its original cost type of thing.
I think it's a fun movie and be fun to review. It goes along with our topic, RPG fantasy or sci-fi RPG, whatever. And it has Jim Henson in it with Muppets. Who can argue that? And David Bowie, for those who like David Bowie fans. But with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, who's been staying with us and coming back, I hope that you guys enjoy today's video. I hope to see you next Sunday when we do this again. If it wasn't for you guys, the Legends. That's Sean's throw into the pit. The Legends. I would not say no to reviewing the Legends at some point.
Yeah,
at all.
I think he would say no.
No, it's not that.
Really?
I've only seen it once, and I really dislike Tim Curry. I really do. Anything he's in just makes me want to vomit.
I get it. But for a fantasy movie, that
absolutely.
one.
Like I said, I've only seen it once.
I mean,
thanks, Multi. I'm gonna. I'll look into it when we're done here. I've got to actually make an Amazon order. Anyways, I got to buy some shirts for a thing. But it was great having all of you guys here with us tonight, this afternoon, wherever you guys are out there in TV land. It was a lot of fun, and make sure you come back and check us out whenever we're on again. This is always a lot of fun.
With that being said, I hope everybody has a good evening. Thank you for coming. Oh, by the way, I said this last night stream. Yes, fantasy role building next week. But I said this last night with Shadow Late Night Chat. I want to wish a happy birthday to one George Jetson. He's born on July 31st of 2022, and I'd like to wish him a happy birthday. And with that being said, any words of wisdom there, Jack?
I guess don't procrastinate, and I should take my advice, but I never will. So yeah.
That's all right.
Play the games you love with people you love, and share whatever you can in this life, especially a good movie like this one.
All right, and I guess mine. Well, happy birthday, Sean, tomorrow. I guess my words of advice is next Valentine's Day, pick up the flowers that your wife or girlfriend likes, because not all women like roses. Some women like sunflowers instead. Make sure to order out a good plate from a good place. Make your own meal. Pop this movie in and enjoy your evening, because I promise you, for Valentine's Day, you can't do any better than The Princess Bride. With that being said, everybody have a good evening, and I will see you throughout the week. Speaking of week, and I'm dragging us on. What are you guys doing this week? I should always be asking this question. What should you guys be doing? What are you guys doing this week?
Today's our Sunday show-off show where we show off the crafts and things we painted this month. A little bit of a lighter month because of summer school for the little guy. Tuesday,
that's a very good excuse.
Tuesday will be our announcement for the month of August, which we have a lot planned for this month. And, Wednesday, Thursday, Gatekeeper, Table Breaker with you when you can make it. Wednesday, I also have a book review by a very good friend of ours who he personally wrote this book, and it's an absolute joy to read. Thursday will be our first craft of the month, which I have no idea what that will be. Followed by Friday's Arduin review. Actually, the Arduin review will be my friend's book. Wednesday will be Star Frontiers Nighthawks expansion. Then, of course, the chill stream and Bruce's game on Friday, followed by another Saturday night shadow chat with the big guy here, the little guy over here, and anybody who wants to talk about whatever we pull out of our collective Well, you know, we'll find something fun for this Saturday.
Yep.
Because last night was a blast.
That it was.
You know, I have to keep that in mind, Sean. These are thank you for the choices of movies, because there's a lot of good movies, especially from the '80s. The Lady Hawk, Dragon Slayer, and so forth and so on. That'd be fun to review with, you know. But like I was saying, thank you all, chat, for being here. I hope you all have a good week. We'll see you when we'll see you. I think as soon as you'll see me is probably Gatekeepers, then Table Breakers, then Bruce's Campaign, then after Bruce's Campaign, hanging out with my older brother and my nephew, because I claim them even if they don't claim me. Then next week we'll be
we're all family, bud.
We'll be doing world building, and I might do, you know what, later on tonight I might do a late night chat with Connell. I haven't quite made up my mind yet, but if I do, I'll keep everybody posted. All said, y'all have a good weekend, and we'll see you when we'll see you.
God bless.